Hey everyone, I'm Chad Stewart. I'm a software engineer from Kingston, Jamaica, and I wanted to ask the question, does the act of job searching add value to you as a person? And so let me kind of clarify the question a little bit. So, what I consider a job search, or at the very least a successful job search, is going from looking for a new position to finding it, interviewing, successfully interviewing, and then starting the first day of the new job. That would be, successfully going through a job search. What I mean, though, is the act of job searching, the act of looking for opportunities to try and take advantage of. Does that inherently add value to you? Um, so let me give a little bit of background on why I asked this question. So earlier this week, I was, for this entire week, I had things to do to prepare for interviews or to do interviews, and I what what I've been trying to do is every week I will look at the activities that I have on my on my calendar or on whatever, and I would ask the question, does this add value to me? And I looked at these two things, which I had kind of decided that these were the main things that I was going to focus on this week, and it was hard for me to say yes. The conclusion I kind of came up with is that they are investments. If they pay off, yes, they add value, but if they don't pay off, then not really. And I kind of thought back to other job searches that I did, and I feel like there is some value, but I just kind of wanted to explore that a little bit more in a video. So for more or less the entire week, I have people that I kind of come across, and I wanted to ask them, how they felt. Excuse me. I wanted to ask them how they felt because because I was kind of struggling with this question, and I thought that the question, like, I thought the question was really interesting, and so I asked a bunch of people, and they gave me varied answers. Some people said that the job search is absolutely important, sorry, is absolutely valuable because if you come across things and you learn things, you can learn potentially new things, and a lot of it is networking, and the act of networking is is really important, and so that gives you value. And then it kind of it was kind of, the other people said that, yes, it can be valuable, but there are some negatives. And then there were other people that were like, no, it's not valuable, or it's not, it can potentially not be there is little value in it. So when I first asked myself this question, I said no. And, you know, given the current context, I would I would say that was a little bit unfair. Because in essence, I was saying no because I had these two things that I had to do this week, which I didn't want to do because it was it's such a risk, like the likelihood of, and I mean, this is not necessarily a great way of thinking about interviewing, but I was just like, what's if things don't go well, what's the benefit of all of this, right? And again, this is not a very good way of thinking about interviewing at all. You stay positive, and you show your value as best as you can. And if you don't get the job, you don't get the job. But one of the reasons why I thought of this is because during other job searches, as I mentioned before, I felt like I gained a fair amount of value in the job search itself. Like, even though I may not have I may not have been successful in the job search, I gained a lot of value, right? So I think my current conclusion is, and by the way, this is a fairly open question. I am not going to. This is not me kind of putting a stamp on it and it's just like case closed. It's a fairly open question, but I think my current conclusion is that I don't even want to say that it depends. Is that it has diminishing returns. Um, let me uh, let me just clarify this really quickly. Well, let me just say this really quickly. I am not a senior engineer. I'm about to talk about, you know, the more senior you are, I'm going to talk about seniority. I'm not a senior engineer, so senior engineers, they can chime in on this, but I feel like the job search has diminishing returns in terms of adding value to you during job searching, as you get more senior in your career. And I say this because as a junior, you don't know too much. And one of the big things that you really should be focusing on is exposure, right? As a junior, you want to be exposed to as many technologies as you can. And the idea is that you want to just kind of feel around, play around with different technologies until you find something that you really like or something that you're really willing to deep dive in. And you might find that by mistake, you know. Now, in job searching, when you're looking through roles, there'll be roles that be like, oh, we need a React person, or we need a Vue person, or we need a Svelte person. I'm obviously front end engineer, so I'm just naming front end technologies. But or Node, or almost a JavaScript, Node, or Python, or so on and so forth. Now, it's very likely as a junior that there will be some technologies that you didn't hear of or some things that you didn't hear of. In fact, I would even go as far as to say if you're really junior or you've never kind of been involved in software engineering, and you want to get started on this journey, I would say the best place to start is actually job descriptions. Just play around with, just kind of look around at job descriptions and look at, like, obviously you kind of you still have to have a base, but just look at job descriptions, and that will give you interesting things to look up and read, and then maybe that's interesting to you and you kind of explore that. But the long story short is, from a technical standpoint, I would say for juniors or just people younger in their career, the most important thing is exploration, is looking around and being exposed to different technologies. Um, the next thing I also feel that is really important is networking, is making connections with other people. I really want to say other engineers, but it's really other people. You want to make connections with engineers, you want to make connections with hiring managers, you want to make connections with recruiters, you want to make connections with anybody that really is involved in the tech field, in all over the place, in all manner of countries. You want to just network. Granted, networking directly towards a position that you're interested in is great, but you want to have a very strong network. You want to talk to, I don't want to say talk to a lot of people, but you you want to have strong connections with, or you want to have connections with a lot of people. Like, say yeah, and I mean networking is pretty much just interacting with people, right? So say you like TypeScript a lot, just being active in the TypeScript group in a TypeScript group is networking. Or say you like React, interacting with a lot of React people is networking, all of that stuff, right? So as a junior, I think these things are incredibly important, right? But I feel like as you mature in your career, you would naturally do these things, and so the returns become less. And I would say the returns become less for two main reasons. One, and let me not say two main reasons, but the returns become less because one, as you grow in your career, I would say hopefully, because this is not a definite, but you would be networking, either on your own actively or passively because your job requires you to talk to these people. Um, or you just like coding for fun, and you code for fun, and so you reach out to other people doing things, or maybe even you just like end up on Stack Overflow and you ask questions on Stack Overflow, and maybe you have you gain friends there, you know but the point is that as you grow in your career, the likelihood of your network being stronger, is high, and so it becomes more difficult to expand your network. Um, I'm not going to say that it's like absolutely impossible. There's 7, 8 billion people on this planet. I'm pretty sure you can continue to expand your network, but it just kind of becomes harder to expand your network. Like it just becomes a little bit harder. And then, of course, as you have more people in your network, maintaining all of those relationships become harder. To the point where what you really have is a bunch of people who are connected to you, like say on LinkedIn or Twitter, but you only interact with a very small percentage of that, and that percentage gets smaller as your network grows, right? The second thing I would say, and this is where I really feel like you have diminishing returns, is your the value of learning a new technology, in a sense, like, or not learning a new technology, learning about a new technology. As you mature in your career, even as a front end engineer, you're going to be exposed to a lot of different things. You're not necessarily going to be the de facto expert, but you're going to be exposed to like things like DevOps practices and back end engineering, or even front end frameworks that you don't work in. You know, you're going to be exposed, excuse me, to a lot of different technologies. Just by existing in your field, and so what I feel you would find is like what would end up happening is just that the potential for coming across something new and being like, oh wow, this is interesting, I should explore this more, especially in a job description. I feel like just lowers as you kind of get exposed to new things throughout either working or learning on your own, and so on and so forth. So it's like I keep forgetting what that learning curve is, but the learning curve where there's a point where the amount of knowledge you get, like when you're first starting, it's a little bit slow because you don't have context, and then you learn enough to get context, and I'm going to kind of draw out the curve with my hands, but you get enough content, and then your learning shoots up, and then as you get to a point of like strong competency, it becomes increasingly harder to continue to learn. Like that's kind of like how I feel about the job search and how it adds value. And there may be things that I'm missing that the job search add value, how the job search adds value. But that's kind of like my idea so far. So like I personally feel that as a junior, the job search is absolutely important. It's probably one of the best ways for you to learn, and one of the excuse me, one of the best ways for you to learn and get exposed to different technologies without necessarily having to be in an environment of engineers, because the amount of knowledge you have is going to be fairly low. And so you'll just get that, like, you say for instance you're looking around and you don't know what svelte is, right? And you look and you see this in a job description and you go ask questions, you go Google it, and then like you learn about it and it may potentially be something that you're interested in, right? And so you go explore that. Whereas as a senior, the likelihood of you seeing a job description and being like, I have no clue what that is, you know, even if it's like, okay, I don't know what the name of this thing is, and then you do a quick Google search, and then it's like, it's a blah de blah de blah de blah, and it's like, oh, I know what blah de blah de blah de blah means, you know what I mean? So it's like, I just feel like the amount of value the amount of value you can extract out of the act of job searching just gets lower. And I should have clarified this before, but like, I don't mean actually getting the job, because obviously getting the job has significantly high value, depending on your situation. But getting the job itself has high value. But like the actual act of just looking for opportunities is, I feel like the value diminishes as you get in strong, get more mature in your career. But what do you think? So let me know in the comments below. Please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. This is, in my opinion, this I feel like this is a fairly interesting question. Like, does the job search actually have value? I would actually be really interested to hear other people's opinions um, in the sense of maybe there's things that I missed in the job search, or maybe I'm underestimating the value of one of the things that I'm saying, or underestimating the growth of that thing over time, But let me know. You know, I, like I said, I think this is a really interesting question. I've literally been kind of on and off thinking about this for like the entire week. You know, so again, let me know what you think. Um, so thank you very much for watching this video. Listen to me kind of, I guess, be philosophical about job searching. Again, please feel free to comment if you have your own opinions on this. I'd really like to kind of follow up on this. And yeah, thank you very much. You have a good one. And hopefully I can find the stop recording button. Haha.